8,
Okay.
9, 10. When we sent her to school, I had already taught her I had taught her to read and write, and the poor teachers, they didn't know what in the world to do with her in first grade, because she was smart enough to teach the class. They called me in for consultation, and they wanted to put her in the 3rd grade. They said that she was that advanced, and I said no. Socially, she would be a complete misfit to keep her with the children her age, and so we bought special readers. We even bought a typewriter. We even taught her conversational Spanish, and did a lot of extra things. And of course, she was taking music and dancing and all of that. But she was she was always quite superior and everything. By the time she hit high school, the superintendent told me one day he's not supposed to report these kind of things, but they did give them an IQ a test. They do every student, and he told me at that time that Emma Jean had passed the highest IQ that has ever been presented to the high school faculty, and then he proved out the same thing in university, and she ended up with a Phi Beta key.
Phi Beta Kappa.
Phi Beta Kappa, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. When we first lived in Flagstaff, we lived in a house that had been given to Ed Babbitt when he was married. It was a wedding gift to him. We lived there for about 6 months. There was a house on North Review for sale, which we bought and moved into it, but it had these huge living rooms, and we had so little furniture that we owned that we had a couch and 2 chairs and a library table, and there was a grandfather clock that came sort of with the house. I mean, they didn't want to take it with them, and we bought it, and that we loved. Well, that's about all we had in the living room until Joe's father gave us a grand piano. But even so, the living room was pretty near 30 feet long, and it echoed with what little furniture that we had. So we hung draperies, and we'd bring all our furniture down in front of the fireplace and left the rest of the room there. So that was our parlor, was just in front of the fireplace, and we lived there then for 55 years. And every few years we'd add another room or two. I said the house developed like an old mother hen. Every time she had 2 or 3 more chickens, her rooms spread out, and that's the way the house seemed to develop. But it was a lovely, lovely family home. My children and I.
Lots of room for children to grow and have friends.
Plenty. They used to accuse me of running a college country club. At the time, my 5 daughters were college age, and that was really right. But it was days and months and years of great happiness in that house. Our first 5 children were all girls, and whenever we had a new baby, Joe would call up my mother, and he would say in the sweet way, he never resented it for a minute. He would say, "Mother, we've got another dandy girl." When the 5th daughter was born, Tess, she was a beautiful baby, and Joe's father, Dave Babbitt, came over to see the new baby, and he looked down in that bassinet, and he said, "She is so beautiful, you should call her Teresa, for the little flower of Jesus," which we did. We said, "That's her name. That'll be her name." And then he turned to Joe, and very sternly he said, "Now look here, Joe. Not one word about this beautiful baby being another girl." He said, "The world needs fine women as well as fine men," and he said, "You just thank God for her." Joe, this little sermon about getting a 5th baby girl Joe did not need it because he had a great love for his children, and he thanked God for all his blessings. He always did. There was never a day that he wasn't grateful. He never complained. Anything he ever had to suffer, he never said, why me, and what is God doing it? And he never once have I ever heard him complain. And if I would speak about it, say, well, why? I wonder why this did, and he would always say, God knows what he's about. And he just accepted life as, as it was. And he never failed to say, thank you, God.
I always remember Daddy on his knees.
And you could walk in you could walk into his bedroom before he went to bed. He was there on his knees, thanking God for this day and for his many blessings. He never took anything for granted, and he never blamed God for anything. He just always had the attitude that God knows what he's about, and he had great faith that if you just give God a chance in your life, trust him that things would turn out all right. I used to say to him impatiently, but Joe, it's so easy for you to be good. I don't believe he was ever tempted to do a wrong or dishonest thing. I don't think he was ever tempted.
Anything.
Well, these 5 little daughters were so adorable and so precious, and also intelligent and responsive and so easy to teach. And we had just an organized little system of taking in our dancing lessons, practicing our dancing before school, and playing a little violin and practicing a little piano. We had a little routine, and all this time our daddy would get breakfast for us while I got the children ready and did their practicing. I never required them to come in after school and practice their music. We did 15 minutes apiece of these activities, and the piano, violin, and dancing before they went to school. And through the years, this was a good routine. It taught them a little habit of diligence, of planning their time, of keeping the schedule, and just that much a day. It added up until by the time they got out of grammar school, they were really accomplished children. In fact, before then, and I dressed them alike. 5 little girls. The first 3 girls were only a year apart, and then after a little less than 3 years, I had 2 more girls a year and a half apart. So we used to say that I had triplets and twins. And when they would all be dressed alike, and we would go, say, visiting, like going to the farm to visit Grandpa Shuley and Grandma Shuley, people would see us and they'd say, are you girls triplets? And they'd say, what do you think? Okay. Well, one year we, on the doctor's orders, we went to Long Beach. Rama had a little sinus trouble that had required an operation, and the doctor wanted it to heal slowly, not in this dry Arizona air, and he suggested that for a month or so that we go down to California, where the beach, in the moist climate. So we went to Long Beach, and the little girls all dressed alike. Whenever we go down on the, what did they call that? On the pike where all the entertainment was down at the beach, carnival stuff, People would say, are you girls all one family? Yes, and they let us in free wherever we went. Mama had to buy a ticket, and all 5 little Babbitt's got in free. It was really a joyous Christmas, and parents had come up to me.
Summer.
Yes, it really was. Parents would come up to me and want to take their pictures and all that sort of thing. And I can remember one day the neighbors getting a great kick out of it. We had a little green Ford, and we decided to wash the car. All 5 little Babbitts swarming all over that car, back and front, fenders and top, and windshield and all, and they got such a kick out of it that they took pictures of us, you know. It's just like the busy bees. Yes, I did a great deal of sewing in those days. You just couldn't buy things in groups and sizes like you can today, and I made these little dresses alike, and the girls enjoyed. In fact, they wore dresses alike until they went to college, really. And even in college, they had some dresses alike, and they enjoyed it. They loved having each other. Well, through the years, we had violin lessons. We really had a little family and orchestra, and I had a cello, which I played some of the time, and most of the time, though, I played the accompaniment on the sometimes Daddy played the mandolin with us too. But we really had a happy childhood, and eventually then we were taking dancing lessons and tap dancing and ballet. Well, we had this resident dancing teacher, and his name was Forrest Thornburg, and he was a Denishon graduate, and so wonderful with the children. He taught them beautifully, and it gave them a lot of stage presence and poise, and they were so dear that we would be invited places, the Women's Club, the Kiwanis, and the Rotary clubs. We'd put on whole little programs for them, and the 5 little Babbitt girls were very much in demand for entertaining, and so this required a lot of costumes. I can remember one dancing recital that Mr. Thornburg produced that I made 26 costumes, some of them great, big, perfect circles of skirts on them, clear to the floor, that were completely covered with ruffles.
I remember them.
And the clear from the little black velvet short pants, the little white blouses, and little jackets for tap dancing costumes.
High-pointed hats.
Yes, and India costume with great veils flowing from their high pointed hats and down and folded up, scooped up and tied to their ankles, and these blousy pants, pantaloon type of things, and gypsy costumes. There was once that they danced in their gypsy costumes at the county fair on a platform, on the orchestra platform that was in the center of the room, and they were so dear dancing, people started throwing money to them on the platform. Remember that, Mary?
I thought I broke it.
One little dance that Forrest Thornburg taught them was had a bride and groom, and I made a little swallowtail costume for Mary to be the preacher. And Imogene was the bride. Imogene was the groom, and Betty Jo was the bride. And then we had little adorable costumes where they had to have wigs. They had wigs with curls.
Yeah, those were
blonde, little ballet short, yes, short ballet dresses, and blonde curly wigs, curls down to their shoulders. And we had a Raggedy Ann dance, and some little oilcloth costumes that I made with a little sand buckets, and then one summer we learned to play harmonicas, which we added to our program. We could all play harmonicas. Raymond, of course, was always the little tomboy. Raymond She never wanted to wear a dress. She always wanted to be in boys' clothes, and she played the boys' games constantly. She learned to skate when she was just not much bigger than a flea, and she was so funny because the skates looked so big on her, and she'd scoot around the whole city block. She was so funny, and she could go so fast. And then when she learned to ride a bicycle, why, she'd enter the bicycle races, and she'd always win them and everything. She was our athlete as she grew up. She grew
football with the boys.
She played football with the boys, and the boys organized a chess club at school. She was the only girl that they'd let on their teams. And the minute she would arrive home from school, she'd come in the back door, and she just wouldn't draw a breath until she got into her overalls, because in those days it was unheard of. The sisters wouldn't have allowed a girl in overalls on the schoolyard. And Tess had.
Well, now wait a minute about Dana. When she got her hair cut, she took herself down to get a haircut, didn't she? And came home with the boys.
It wasn't that she wanted to put this. Oh, I'm thinking about Tess and the typewriter.
What about a vest? Something about a vest that Rayma wanted for
That's what she wanted, the vest, and Tess wanted
two tulips and a
flutists and a typewriter. Yeah.
Rayma wanted.
When we asked Rayma what she wanted for Christmas, she took a deep breath and said she wanted a vest. And then Tess, who was a little younger, Tess wanted two flutists and a typewriter. Tess had a very special friend, Virginia Compton, who lived just a block away from us, and Tess and Virginia were great pals. The Comptons were always wanting to adopt Tess. They would try to induce her to get her parents to sell her for 15 cents to Mr. Compton. And we had a way at Christmas time of bringing out all our old dolls, and for weeks ahead of Christmas I would make the dolls a new dress, and we'd shine them up and fix them up and dress them up and have all the dolls come to the Christmas tree. Just for real special, I had made for Tess's doll a duplicate of one of her dancing costumes, which was a red firefly costume, and I made an exact duplicate of it for her doll, and Tess was so excited on Christmas morning. She just couldn't wait to run over to Virginia Lee's to show it to her. And she was back so soon that we were surprised, and she looked so crestfallen. I said, "Tess, what's the matter?" And she said, "I'm pink and green with revenge." She said, "Virginia Lee's doll has a white ermine coat." And this pink and green with revenge was a phrase that stayed with our family forever. Whenever we were jealous of anything, we'd always say we were pink and green with revenge. Tess had a very special musical gift. She learned the piano very, very well, and she had more real natural talent for that, and she also had the superior singing voice.
Probably inherited your father.
Of all the other, everybody in the family could carry a tune. I mean, they had pitch, but they didn't have voice quality like Tess did. Joe sang too, but not so special as Tess. So we did give her voice lessons, and this is one thing that has been a happiness to her, because she sung in many choruses and choirs, and she's been on radio a lot of times and that sort of thing. Even after she was married in West California, why she let us know when they were broadcasting, so we could turn on the radio and hear her choruses sing. Tess had a theatrical gift from her early early childhood. And there was one night when the Army officers were being entertained at the Monte Vista Hotel at a banquet, and the newspaper man, his name escapes me, I can't think what his name was. Anyway, he wrote a little poem for each, in honor of each one of the Army officers that were being honored that night. And after the group of little girls had entertained, Tess was about 3 years old, and in an adorable ballet skirt, they had her tiptoe down the middle of the banquet table, and the newspaper man would go along behind the chairs and stop behind the chair that she was to recite this little poem. And the captain from Belmont, I just remember the one that she said to him, Captain Carl Hoyer, you made a hit with me. I'm going to fire my husband and be your affinity bee. It should have been, of course, and your affinity bee. But Ted said, and be your affinity bee. It made it so, I mean, just added a little bit of humor to it. But she was so dear, and just poured on the glamour. Always, yes, she did. So one summer, from one of the sheep camps, Daddy was able to get a little donkey, and we did enjoy having him. It wasn't against the law in those days to have a donkey or a pony in your backyard. We just kept him tied in the backyard and fed him there. And all 5 of the little girls would ride him at once. I have a picture of all 5 of them on there, and it is so dear. Rayma, of course, in boys' clothes. And poor Tess was the first one to go, and she got pushed forward and forward in order to make room 5, till she was agonized, sitting along with the donkey's shoulder bones. But it's so cute, such a cute picture. Well, through the years, I worked a lot for the Alder Society. And Pearl Sherman, Dr. Sherman's wife, was my very, very close friend, and she was raising a family of girls. She did have 2 boys out of her 5 girls. She had 3 girls and 2 boys. But we were very, very close friends, and our children all, went to school together. But it was our prerogative to take charge of the big St. Patrick's party for the Catholic Church every year. And we would spend a month getting ready for St. Patrick's party. There was one year that I decided to make it a mother and daughter year, and I advertised the fact that I would take orders for mother and daughter aprons, identical, no matter what age your daughter was, that I would make you an apron and an identical one for your daughter. And that year I made 45 aprons, and we asked the mothers and the little daughters to model them at the party, which they did. St. Patrick's party was traditional and still is with the Catholic Church, but for some reason or another, it turned out to be a hat party. Everybody had a new hat for St. Patrick's party, and of course, hats were so special. In those days, a lady wasn't dressed up unless she had a hat and gloves on to leave the house. But somehow or other, the town just established this as a tradition. It really was the Easter parade every year in Flagstaff to have a new hat and even a new dress, but especially a new hat for the St. Patrick's party, and everybody patronized. The Episcopal people would have a May Day breakfast, and the Catholic people would have a St. Patrick's party, and we would always go to the Episcopal party, and they would always come to us. In fact, the St. Patrick's party was one of the main social events in Flagstaff through all the years, 50 years that I know about it. We once had a little musical recital at our house, and every girl that was performing invited her mother and supposedly surprised her. We all dressed in mother's clothes and big ladies' clothes to have this, and it was adorable. We have photographs of it, but it was really a social event. And we sang this cute song I had taught them, that we liked to take our mother's clothes and dress in them so fine, so forth. I worked a lot for the Women's Club, and we built a Women's Club building in Flagstaff, and we slaved for it for years. We earned money in every possible way that we could, but one of the kind of cute ways that I always thought was fun, we would take turns serving breakfast downtown in Babbitt's store. They'd give us space, just like they used to for the church food sales and things like that. But we would take our waffle irons down there and our hot plates, and we'd serve breakfast in the store. The minute the store was open, the stores used to open at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'd serve hot waffles or hot cakes for the benefit of the building fund of the Women's Club. And we did this quite often, and it was really great. All the employees and the early customers would have hot breakfast with us in the morning. We gave plays, we gave food sales, we gave programs, musical programs. I can remember playing the piano, two pianos, four of us, and how we slaved and worked for that. We had a cause that would. We'd have bazaars and all kinds of real special things. Well, one thing of interest we did in growing up, that I organized in the parish a national organization of the Catholic Daughters that the bishop approved of, and we had a hard time. In fact, the bishop sent the organizer back 2 different times before Father finally would let us organize in the parish. And they had a junior organization set up that we devoted ourselves to for several years, and it was beautiful. And we made little green capes for uniforms with little green, what do you call these little skull caps? Just little green hats, 2 little crocheted hats. And little green capes, and we would all go to communion in a body, and we had many beautiful activities, and we had a wonderful, it contributed wonderfully to our growth and our zeal, for Catholic activity, and it was a beautiful organization. That Father finally discouraged it so that the women gave it up. But I was the first and second Grand Regent. I served the first 2 terms. I served as Grand Regent of it, and it was a beautiful thing to have. And it grieved me that the priest finally wouldn't tolerate it in the parish. One of the happy things that happened to me was when I first got a chance to play golf. It came about from the situation that I don't know, probably